Hi, my name is Yen Tran, and this would be my very first YouTube video that I would like to share with you about my experience with my spiritual awakening, which finally led me to have a Kundalini awakening back in 2014. What sparked it, my spiritual awakening was actually through my brother, because in 2013 he had a mental breakdown and I felt the need to help him. And I felt it was spiritual in nature, so I actually seek a shaman to help him. So in one of the sessions, the strange thing that happened was that my brother was actually talking this foreign language that I have never heard of. The interesting thing that happened was that both the shaman and him were conversing each other in this language. So in retrospect, I realized that they were speaking in the light language. So while I was helping him, there were a lot of supernatural incidents that occurred that I could not dismiss. And this led me to question everything about our reality, why we are here, spirituality. So all of these questionings led me to have my own spiritual awakening. So in 2014, I decided to meditate, and I was actually able to meditate for an hour every morning. And after 3 months of meditation, one morning I started to have spontaneous movements inside of my meditation. And these movements were very yoga-like, very free-flowing. And the thing was, I've never done yoga before in my life, but it felt intuitively right. So I allowed these movements to take place. And after about an hour of these movements, I actually felt light and felt very good. However, that night as I was sleeping, all of a sudden I felt this energy that was coming up from the base of my spine, and it was traveling up into my stomach area. The energy felt very hot, and wherever it flowed, I felt like I was having severe acid reflux. And it traveled from my stomach up into the esophagus, and that's when I felt a lot of heartburn. And then it traveled up to my throat area, and it kind of got stuck there. Well, throughout the entire night, I was experiencing a lot of bizarre twitches and jerky movements that would not allow me to sleep. Now, I was able to doze off a little bit, and I was, as I was dozing off, all of a sudden, I was awakened by this very bright white light. And right after that, I saw a lot of geometric shapes that were bursting with very vibrant colors, and they were actually very beautiful. However, subsequent nights, I still had a lot of twitches and jerky movements that kept me up, and I was probably able to sleep maybe 2 hours a night for the next several weeks. Now, the interesting thing that happened about a week later, as I was checking on my dog, I have a mixed Shih Tzu, and she has this little wart, and all of a sudden my hands were moving as if I was trying to heal her. So I got a bit excited, and I was curious. So I asked my husband if I could heal his foot, because he was having problem with his foot. And sure enough, my hands were doing all of these pressure points and massages. And out of nowhere, I started to speak the light language. And about several days later, I discovered that I was able to channel too. And so all of this happened very quickly. The only thing that I was concerned and frightened was I started to experience spontaneous movements outside of my meditation. So this sparked me to do some research online, and I was led to these excerpts that was written by this lady. The title of her book was called The Light Body. And I really resonated with her because she experienced all of the spontaneous movements inside and outside of meditation that was very similar to what I was experiencing. She also is an energy healer, a channeler too. And in these excerpts, she was saying that what it is basically the Kundalini energy, or this the Kundalini awakening. What it means is that we are reconnecting back to source, to universal energy, to God, whatever we may call it, but it's basically the same. And she was saying that the Kundalini energy is basically our higher self, and our higher self is very intelligent, and when we experience this energy, we should surrender to the energy and let it do its work. So after I was reading her excerpts, I released my fear about the movement, and I allowed the energy to flow through me, to help me to heal. Now, about 3 to 4 weeks later, I discovered that my body is healing. The miraculous thing happened was that one day, as I was looking down towards my feet, I used to have a lot of varicose veins from standing on my feet all day long, being an optometrist for 28 years. So that when I was looking down, all of my varicose veins were literally gone. There was just a little bit left. And I was amazed. And a few weeks later, I started to notice that my motion sickness was going away. So not only that, I used to have a lot of migraine headaches, joint pain. I used to have to take a lot of conjoined supplements 8 years prior to that, due to the pain that I have on my knees and my arms. And not only that, after I would say about a year or so, I noticed that my year-round allergy was going away too. And the other miraculous thing that I was able to heal was actually my heart, because I used to have a really severe mitral valve prolapse that as a child I was in and out of the hospital a lot, and I used to have a lot of shortness of breath, a lot of it's just fatigued, and it prevent me from doing any kind of strenuous exercise or even running. So all of these healings that I was experiencing was very miraculous, and I realized that because of the Kundalini energy that helped me to heal. Now, as you know, when you have the Kundalini awakening, it really forces you to do the inner work. So before I had the Kundalini awakening, while I was meditating, I gained a lot of clarity and insight. So during that time, I decided that anybody in my life that I have issues with, that I need to forgive them one by one. And I do believe, because I did this inner work, that I was able to let go the bulk of my anger and resentment during that time. If it hadn't been for that, I think having the Kundalini energy would have been so much more difficult to work with. And it requires a lot of work, because a lot of inner work. There's a lot of mirror work that I had to do throughout the whole process. But I do believe, because I did the inner work and the mirroring too, as far as working on my negative emotions. The one thing I would like to say is that when you have the Kundalini awakening, it literally shattered all your belief system, and it forces you to change your old way and old habits and old patterns of thinking. And it forces you to change all your belief system about your reality, the society as a whole, and basically unlearn what you have learned. And throughout this spiritual journey, I realized that our negative emotion is what really kept us from having a healthy mind, body, and spirit. If we can confront these negative emotions, we can heal ourselves. And that's what I did. And I have to say that the three key things about the Kundalini, having the Kundalini awakening, which helped me to heal, was that I had a change in beliefs, and I had to meditate and ground myself. And it does take a lot of work. The only way for us to let go is to meditate when we are in stillness, because that's the only way for the negative emotions to rise, so that we can observe it and to let them go. And because of this, the inner work that I've been doing, I was able to heal myself. So it's so important to do the inner work during this journey. And I would like to end it here. In subsequent videos, I would like to dive deeper into the negative emotions, and to help you how to recognize these emotions and to let them go. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope for you to tune in on my next one. Thank you so much.